da 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 ho, da 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 ho, da 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 ho, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da da. Da da da. Da da da. Da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da da. Da 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 da. Da da da. Keep going. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Da 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 da.
Shalom. And it's like the bird is singing with us too, which is really special. I just want to alert you. It doesn't matter, Cody. It's fine. I just wanted to raise your attention for a moment. When you change a space and you put in new flooring and you put in curtains and you change the outline of the walls, and maybe even you get on your sound system, our synagogue is going to sound differently when we will reopen, just because the sound is going to travel differently in this room. And I just wanted to take a moment to bring to mind all the voices of all the people who filled this space since, I think, 1993, when this building was purchased. I think more. Yeah. Right. I mean, I know Edith has been here many times since the beginning of this community, and magically she's moving just at the same time as we're moving. So we're moving to. We need wrapping materials. If you have wrapping materials, we can take wrapping materials. And then also, of course, Jake Fleming, Lori Rosolowski, Adina, who many of you remember and know as Amber, Rabbi Ed's voice, Rabbi Mark's voice, Rabbi Jake Commissar? No. Who was it between Rabbi Mark and Rabbi Ed? There was an interim rabbi. Do you remember his name? There was an interim rabbi. Yes. I know. Yeah, his name is on the list out there. And just in the last years, Josh Burnham came back and will be back again to sing with us once they've settled in. And of course, Kyle. So just to realize how many musicians, how many different voices have echoed hello between these walls, and how many more will continue to echo within these walls, even though just a little differently. Here's our newest member. Well, not quite. There's Skylar too. But here's little Evie. Shabbat Shalom, Evie. Shabbat Shalom. And so we'll just keep all the voices in our minds, also the voices of those who will not move with us into the next space, but who were such an integral part of the sound of this community in the walls of the building as they have been. And I want to invite up to me, if that's okay, Lisa and Dustin to light the Shabbat candles, because today we spoke so much about Shabbat candles and if they would be an appropriate gift for Evie's baby naming. And I learned that this was how they started off as a Jewish family, was with lighting the Shabbat candles. So here we have two people. Would you be willing to share a little bit of your home Shabbat with us? Okay. We are on page 120. And Evie could come, or she could stay with Aunt Lynn. We are on page 120. Hello, Evie. Do you want to do this? Dustin seems busy.
Yeah.
You just light them right away. Okay. And then we're going to gather the flame together until we feel it warm behind our eyes and our face. That always happens, no worry. Don't use a broken one, please. It's going to be fine. Yes. Yeah. Perfect. And we're doing this. And we're doing this all together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher קידשנו במצוותיו ציוונו להדליק נר של שבת. Amen. Hey. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Please join me on page 124. Thank you. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough. 124. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May the synagogue be, for all who enter, a doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. And as you are filling the space with memories, we'll just dive into the verses of Kabbalat Shabbat, one page after the other, starting on 136, Psalm 29. Mizmor leDavid, havu l'Adonai b'nei elim, havu l'Adonai, kavod ba'ozainai, havu l'Adonai, kevod shemo ishtachavu l'Adonai, be'adat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavodim, Adonai al mayim rabim, kol Adonai ba'koach, lai 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 lai, kol Adonai ve'hada, kol Adonai shover harazim, omer Adonai et azei halvanon, vayakidem kemo egel levanon ve'Sirion kemo ven remim, nai nai nai, kol Adonai chotzev lavodesh, kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar hakodesh, kol Adonai yechoyel alalot, vayechesof yeharot, uvechalo kulo merkavo, nai nai nai, Adonai lam abul yeshav vayeshev, Adonai melech leolam, Adonai od le'amo yiten, Adonai yevorech et amo v'shalom. Yainai, 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 nai, 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 yainai, nai, yainai, 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 nai, 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 yai. 138 lecha dodi, ya na 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 lecha dodi, ya na 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 likrat kala, ya na 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 penei Shabbat nekabela, shamo וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת
ולתהילה. יא נאי נאי, יא נאי 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 לך דודי. יא נאי 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 לקראת כלה. יא נאי 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. יא נאי נאי, יא נאי 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 לך דודי. יא נאי 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 לקראת כלה. יא נאי 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה. יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה. יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בא אורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי שידברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה. יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה. יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי פני שבת נקבלה. Please rise. בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצוהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה. יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה. יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי, יא נאי נאי פני שבת נקבלה. 140. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני. The Israeli poet Amichai wrote a poem about synagogues, and it is called A Poem Without an End. Inside
the brand new museum. There's an old synagogue. Inside the synagogue is me. Inside me, my heart. Inside my heart, a museum. Inside the museum, a synagogue. Inside it, me. Inside me, my heart. Inside my heart, a museum. (146) Baruch Hu, the call for prayer, the call to encounter God. We are always rising when we're saying Baruch Hu towards the Torah shrine, towards the thing we hold most sacred in the world. We're going to have plenty of services in the next month where we're going to rise and bow, not towards the Torah shrine, but just towards east. And that is what we're going to do. So until the high holidays, at least, we're going to say goodbye to the ark, to the scrolls, to praying into their presence until we're going to bring them back from Richard and Janelle's house for our high holiday services at the Unitarian Fellowship here in Bozeman. 146, please rise in the presence of the Torah scrolls for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMorach Leolam Vahed. 148, please be seated. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'ma'ariv aravim. 150, with eternal love, have you guided us, will continue to guide us, pillars of smoke, pillars of fire, leading us on our way.
Ahava Rabbah,
Ahava Rabbah,
Ahava Rabbah,
Ahava Rabbah,
Ahava Rabbah, Ahavtanu, Ahava Rabbah, Ahava Rabbah, Ahava Rabbah, Ahavtanu, 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 Adonai Eloheinu, Ahavtanu,
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם emet. And before we're reading on page 157, this is a nod to the world, and not to a world in which almost every week something seems to happen that in some way or another shifts our sense of the world itself. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Through our failings are many and our faults are great. It has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 158, the song on the shores of the sea, Mi Chamucha.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha hanim Adonai, mi chamocha le'eda b'kodesh, nora tehillah osef eleh, nora tehillah osef eleh.
מלכותך ובניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה עליינו ואמרו, זה עליינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי ניי 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 ניי, יאי ניי 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 ניי, יאי ניי 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 ניי, יאי ניי 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 all are. We all are distracted by a baby. So I want to invite you, just focus on the baby or listen to me, depending on what you are in the mood of doing. Do not worry if sometimes you get distracted by a baby. Do you want to sing down? I decided that I'll give the sermon now. The sermon. So you can sit down and take a break. No. Don't worry at all. So it seemed so necessary almost, as I know that the next weeks and months are going to bring plenty of sermons in parks. Next time, I want to make a special announcement also. The next service is going to be on the 20th, I think, at Lindley Park. It is going to be our Pride Shabbat service. Kyle is going to play guitar, and Marnie here, our wonderful Marnie, also prospective new board member, starting 2 days after that, is going to give the sermon. So please come plenty and enjoy one of our many, many summer outdoors gatherings. But as this is the last time you're going to sit in a proper building, I think, until the end of August or September 6th, I think, I really felt it was time to give another Israel sermon. Also because I spoke to a new member, and she asked me how often would I speak about Israel, and was deeply amazed when she heard that I'm really trying not too often. I'm trying not too often because I don't want to depress you, because my assumption is that many of you might be less sad than I am, and if I speak too often about it, then you'll all become sadder, and nothing is helped. But I've also realized, it was 2024 that I gave my last one. So here we go. It's the last service that we are having in the presence of those flags, which will become part of our storage unit contents for the next couple of months. And it reminded me that it is maybe time to take account where we are at this specific point in time. But I remembered myself before I even could think about the presents. And I remembered myself in my last decade, not the one that I just finished, but in the decade of my 20s, when I spent, I would think, at least a good half of the years that I had, which means more or less 5, living in Jerusalem. It was a time in my life where I lived mostly in the heart of town, and most of my friends you would have found somewhere very, very radically left of anything that was considered mainstream. Most of my friends spent all their Shabbatot not at the synagogue, but demonstrating against the occupation in East Jerusalem, at the checkpoints, in the West Bank. It was a time where Bibi ran for one of his many re-election campaigns. And when you were on your bicycle riding the streets of Tel Aviv, you would look at huge posters and they would say, "Anachnu harov." And that meant we are the majority. And back then, that was actually true. Secular, left-leaning, Western-educated people were the majority, the political majority in Israel, only 15 years ago. It is amazing to think what a difference these years have made. Today, there would have been no more such posters. Anachnu harov, we are the majority, is long not true anymore. It was back then that I found myself not going to these demonstrations because I felt I had no right. Most of those years I was not a citizen, but I happily cleaned the toilets of our shared living situation bathrooms so that they could go and demonstrate, and I listened to all their political opinions, and I deeply knew that they were right. It was excruciating for me to see all my friends grow older and having children continuing going to demonstration, and getting themselves ready to send these kids to the army. It's a heartbreaking biography. The Israeli sociologist Eva Illouz says, "To love Israel is to oppose the iniquitous regime of the occupation. To love Israel is to think about how this country can extricate itself from the infernal logic of war in which it is trapped. I fear that the occupation and messianism, and with this she means religious right messianism, have killed the moral and political culture of this country." I don't think I personally was very worried about the moral political culture of this country because I am a deeply worrying realist, and I think I read the signs of the time back then. But I was deeply heartbroken for my friends, for the kinds of lives they were going to head into, and for the kinds of lives they were forced to create for their children. Last time I gave an Israel sermon, I spoke about the concept of Shomrei Negi'ah. This means literally keeper of the touch, and it's the exact opposite. It is the keepers of the non-touch. It is the people who do not touch members of the opposite sex. But I used it in my sermon last year to speak about the position that I find myself in now, not living there anymore, even though I do hold an Israeli passport. Now I feel it's not up to me. I'm not living there. I'm not voting there. I don't need to live with the consequences of day-to-day politics. So I am wary of pointing fingers too outspokenly. I do want to respect that this is a sovereign state. It is a democracy. Its citizens make choices. And what was the rov, the majority, is not the majority today anymore. Israel has changed. It deeply has. This is the book in which the sermon appeared. It appeared last year. Stephen, here's your new reading. Stephen has made it his secret mission to read all my little publications, and then he surprises me. So here's that. But I did wrestle a lot over the last month with one sentence that seems to say the same and yet means something completely different. Instead of Shomrei Negi'ah, don't touch the sovereignty of a different state, I hear all the time, not in my name. It seems to be a similar statement of distance, and yet it really is something entirely different. It is a statement, and I don't need to say this to most of you, made by American Jews who do want to distance themselves from the decisions of the Israeli government. And I so often want to say, of course not. This is not in your name. This is not in my name. This is not in the name of anyone I know or love in Israel, or so I think. Maybe some of them, who knows? Never dig too deeply. But the truth is, we don't matter. Most Israeli citizens do not matter. What matters here are, as it is so often, considerations about entire nation states, economic considerations, the Middle East as a whole, maybe even more global considerations than just the Middle East. People, especially individual people in their own little vulnerable bodies, do not matter so much in this conflict. Whether they find themselves in dark tunnels, whether they find themselves in green uniforms, whether they find themselves in Gaza hospitals, or whether they find themselves in an apartment in DC. We don't matter so much in this conflict. And I think this is something that many of us really struggle with, because we were raised on the assumption that individuals do matter. So here we are, many of us somehow counting ourselves in the left-leaning or centrist part of this country, and we are betrayed twice. Once by an Israeli government that doesn't act at all, like many of us would vote for, and then also by many colleagues and friends and sometimes family members who forget and deny that there is an Israeli and that there is a Palestinian peace movement, and that there are countless people in the Middle East who work even today, every day, to ensure that there is at least a tiny piece of hope left. Here is Eva again. The moral foundation on which Jews rely to defend themselves is becoming increasingly fragile and shrinking. The situation is serious, but there is a beautiful people in Israel, one that is fighting to preserve democracy. We all saw these people. We saw them long before October 7th. They filled the street of Tel Aviv and at times New York. They were all out there demonstrating for the preservation of their structure of justice and true democracy. At this time, Bibi Netanyahu is facing a trial that most Israelis are deeply uninterested in, because what he has done since then, when our biggest worry seemed to have been that he was paid a little strangely, seemed to just fade away compared to what he has been doing since then. And yet, it is not right for us to claim that we have the right to cheer on the dismay and the death sometimes of people who do things differently than we would do them. Eric Ward wrote, "You don't get to wear the language of liberation while you cheerlead for slaughter. Some of you are lost in a lie. And the lie goes like this: they harmed us, now anything we do is righteous. They harmed us, now anything we do is righteous." This is never true. It is not true that because of occupation, October 7th was justified. It is not true that because of October 7th, the war in Gaza and the death of 10,000s is justified. It is never righteous to do things based on feelings of revenge. And at this time, I think we do need to acknowledge that the feeling of revenge is at least a part of what is happening in the Middle East. Jews in America are deeply divided about how to speak about the Middle East. We can't even agree anymore how to call this country. Is it Israel? Is it Israel-Palestine? Is it Palestine? Where does this leave us? The only loyalty, I really think, that we are deeply, deeply asked to keep is the loyalty to truth. Having power, which is the case in Israel, means having a responsibility towards the weak in Israel. And the weak, those are the citizens of an occupied country. Those are the citizens of a piece of land who have no accepted structure anymore. The weak are also different populations inside the state, the poor and the ones who are not always part, I can't even say anymore the Jewish majority, it doesn't matter, but you know whom I mean. Not having power means defending one's own rights when they are threatened. And this, more and more, seems to be the case in this country. The position of the intellectual requires managing the tension between loyalty and truth all the time. One can and must hold both positions by grasping their moral coherence and continuity. We have to be able to say several sentences together in one sentence, or in one saying, or maybe in one sermon. Here are the words again. I believe in Palestinian freedom. I believe in Jewish safety. I believe the occupation must end. I believe no government should decide your humanity based on your bloodline or the language your mother signs in. I believe in coexistence that is not cute, but complicated. It will look like life. The headline of Eric Ward's article was, "You don't get to destroy it if you've never ever built a goddamn thing." And I didn't want to quote it directly, and yet I did it now. It is so incredibly important not to become destructive these days. It is so important to continue being truthful, reading and speaking with integrity, and reaching out over and over again, even if we're not always met with kindness. At the very beginning of this evening, when Eva stepped into the building, she said, "I made something for you." And maybe you remember these lines. They are the guiding principles of this organization founded by an American Jew of teenagers who play frisbee with each other in Israel. That is Arabic and Jewish Israeli and Druze and all kinds of other teenagers too. And it reads, "Listen carefully, question thoughtfully, speak respectfully, think differently." And I'm going to frame this, and I'm going to hang it into my new office, which is going to be somewhere here in this corner of this building. And it shall guide us as we are continuing in this congregation to speak about this place and to love this place. Maybe one day we'll go on an Israel trip. Who knows? And we will figure out how to do this with a loyalty to truth and with love. And it will look like life. Shabbat Shalom. Page 162, the sermon. What happened? Oh, thank you for that thing on my thing. Veshamru, we keep, and God keeps, and Shabbat keeps us all together. Bnei Yisrael et השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Shabbat vayinafesh, Shabbat vayinafesh, Shabbat vayinafesh, ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. 164. Please rise for the silent Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Take all the time you need. We're on page 180, back together. Shalom libra, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imu amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imu amen. And before we go on to the Mishaberach, for the members of this community, I wanted to ask you, please rise if you feel you want to, for the prayer of the state of Israel on 377. Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Tzu Yisrael ve'goalo. Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Tzu Yisrael ve'goalo. Barech et medinat Yisrael, Reshit tzmichat Geulateinu. Again שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. Thank you. Please be seated. We are going to sing the Mishaberach on page 371. I want to again mention Sharon Tholt, the board president of this community, who is going to need surgery in the following weeks. So I know you got today a letter. She's fully functioning and everything. If you do feel that some things might fall through the cracks, please do not molest her, molest me, molest other board members. Give her some space and grace so that she can focus on her healing over the next weeks. I do also want to mention the victims of the attack in Boulder, who are still very much in excruciating pain. Any other people we should mention? I know Lynn Annika. Page 371.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
I want to invite you to rise for the Kaddish on page 598. I want to remember especially our friend Bob Wild, who was a very long-year friend of the Torah study group, which he attended, I think, almost on a weekly basis until he got too sick, without ever having been to Bozeman physically, not even once. He has joined us from Mexico, he has joined us from Texas, until he stopped joining us a couple of months ago. I learned many things from Bob. Bob's unbreaking love for people and life and the world, nature and its beauty, the laughter, the gratitude, the unending optimism, and at the same time, the very, very grounded rootedness in reality with which he handled his life and his family and his finances, and in the end, the way he died. So if you're laughing but still fully functioning, then you're living the Torah of Bob. Any other names you want to name? Yes. He'll be in Lindley Park. Page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחי יכון וביום יכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבא מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה וברכו. לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. Please be seated for a moment. Page 627, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Tomorrow is going to be one last Torah study session led by Stephen Guggenheim in the community hall, and then I will leave it to the Torah study leaders to close the door of the synagogue until we will reopen, God willing, sometime at the end of November. But many miracles have accompanied us on our way here, so maybe there will be some more, and the construction will actually unfold just as planned, and then we will be back for Hanukkah, which would be a really wonderful occasion to be back for. So we are going to hope and pray for this, which means that over the next month, a couple of things will be different. Some things are outlined in the letter. Our services over the next month will take place in parks and at private homes, and then continue at the Universal Unitarian Fellowship here in Bozeman, including the high holidays, including also Tot Shabbats and religious school, for which thankfully the Unitarians are fully equipped. They have they have a little one classroom, in the middle one classroom, and then we'll be able to do everything we're doing here except for streaming the services, which is especially relevant for all the people who are watching right now on YouTube. We will not be able to stream our services from the Unitarian building, which is why we're going to have 2 Zoom services a month instead of one over the next month, to make sure that all our members, including the remote members, can fully participate in the life of this congregation. Mahjong and Alexander Technique are going to meet privately. The women's group is going to meet both privately, including a laptop that we're going to have with us, like in the good old days before we started meeting in the community room. And we're also sometimes going to be just on Zoom, which is going to be the case this month. I know there's still a lot of open questions, and there are also, they exist for me too, so we're going to resolve them as we go. But it is an amazing thing that we have reached this moment. So for the next month, read the newsletter carefully, listen for announcements thoughtfully, speak respectfully to all the people who will sometimes mess up a thing in the process, because there are many things that need to happen at the same time, and think differently about what this community can do for us. It will be a little different, but it will still be your community. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and protect you. May God wrap you in God's light. And may you take every step of your journey in this light, in the sense of protection, in the sense of connection, and in the sense of peace. Page 157. Od yavo shalom aleinu, may peace come. Is that okay?
Aleinu Shabbat?
No.
No,
Od yavo
just-
shalom aleinu.
Okay.
Od yavo shalom aleinu.
Oh, okay. We're not doing
No.
one day. Okay. Sorry.
Here.
Yeah, this one. Sorry.
What?
Od
Yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. And we're going to do Kiddush right over there. Because today, thankfully, Sid and many of Sid's friends packed up the kitchen. And when we prepared for services, we couldn't do it there. So we're going to do it here. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom.